Pat Bianco, you are my dear friend. We go back several years now, particularly from our wonderful journeys together as storytellers. And you are, as we say, having this conversation from your home, your residence, which happens to be at Linden Ponds in Hingham, right?
Correct.
Now, we were talking the other day and you were sharing, and not to divulge any personal details, but just to say that as a residence, as a community, like many of our communities that have a high percentage of senior citizens, your community has gone into a stay at home, shelter in place, however you want to describe it. Is that correct?
Correct.
So how long have you been in that status, and what's it like for you as a resident there in that regard?
We've been in Nobody Comes In for about 5 days. Before that, it was don't have contact with people and so on and so forth. And but actually, they've ceased deliveries, ceased having people come into the place about 5 days ago. I could go out if I wanted. But when you come back in, they stop you at the gate and have about 5 or 6 questions that they have. And they really want you to only go out once during the day.
And that makes a lot of sense for the obvious reason that as you venture out into public, you don't want to bring that virus onto the residents.
Right. I feel that I have a little more responsibility in some ways, because anything that I am risky with out there, I'm not just bringing it back. There are 1,500 people here. And so I'm exposing 1,500 people to whatever I run into. So people are very careful. People are very singular here.
So let's talk about how you pass your typical day. What does a typical day look like for you personally at Linden Ponds, given the coronavirus crisis right now?
If I can, Joe, can I tell you how I got to the typical day?
Yes, please.
Because about 2.5 weeks ago, I was in a meeting, and there were 19 of us in this meeting. This was just when this whole thing was ramping up. There was a woman in the meeting who had just come back from overseas. I left because I had another meeting. And after I left, she coughed a couple times. And then she went, because this was a tight cough, she went down just to talk to the medical people. And they said, oh, we're going to test you. So they tested her, but they quarantined all 19 people in the room. So you can't come out. Now they realize that there are different kinds of quarantines. We could not come out. I had not been to a grocery store. So I was there for 8 days. I ended up with pickles, oranges, and sardines. That's all I had in the house. And people really couldn't come in to bring me anything. And I was too proud to call or do it. I thought, I'll just get along. In those 8 days, the first couple of days, I was very restless because I'm used to being active, on the go, doing things and so on. I paced the floor, I watched TV, I started books. I couldn't really settle in. And then I'm a painter, and I play piano, and I bought a dulcimer for Christmas that I haven't had time to go in and learn. I'm thinking that it's maybe impossible. And I got my paints out and I sat down. I've had a lot of ideas, but I haven't had time to paint because I'm doing this and this and this and this. All of a sudden, it was like running into a wall. Everything stopped. Computer stopped. Everything stopped. And so I sat down and painted. And it was like a long time ago when I just sat and painted. And I did this day after day after day. There was a kind of a stillness in me that was created from sitting and painting. I don't want to say that I'm not worried about what's going on out there, that I'm not panic stricken about my family, about myself and everything else. But that's one railroad train on one track. On another track, there was this stillness that just came in and calmed me down. I'm not a meditator, but it's the kind of thing I think people talk about. I can't identify with it because I don't do it, but it's just this very peaceful stillness that came in. So in the days when I get up in the morning, I usually get up, have coffee with a friend on TV like today, and then I go in and start a painting or work on a painting and so on. In the afternoon, I go out and we have trails here. And so I'll walk my 10,000 or 15,000 steps on the trails or around the roads and so on, keeping my distance from everyone else. In the evenings, I'll come back and read. And it's very peaceful and it's very solitary. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I found it's really mine, and it made me introspectively go in and say, I'm doing a lot of running around doing things for other people, but what am I doing for me?
You know, many people are referencing this health crisis as an opportunity to reset. You hear that term used more and more often these days. For some, it's perhaps a reset to their tactile, functional day, obviously having to figure out how to work from home, how to manage the children at home, how to manage one's home life. For others, perhaps it's a reset on a spiritual level or an emotional and psychological level. Would you agree?
I would agree. And the thing is, when you asked me to do the interview, my inclination was to say no. But it's really, it's impossible to say no to you because you will find reasons why I should be doing this. And I agree with them because I'm on one train over here. I'm a retired woman living in a confined space and so on. Is the rest of the world like me? No. People have children who are wanting to do this and wanting to do that, or they have jobs, or they're worried about how they're going to get meals and so on and so forth. Those are not worries that I have. But there are a lot of people out there who are on the same train that I am. You know, they are retired or they are sitting with time. And a lot of those folks that I talk to watch endless news, or they're just worried to death. It's all the time, all the time. There's nothing else to go along with it. So maybe there were things that they did in life that they really enjoyed. Maybe they sang or they danced, or I don't know, played an instrument, or did cartwheels on the lawn. I don't know. But there is that possibility of going back to something that you loved.
In addition to being an artist on so many different levels, that is painting, playing the piano, you're also a storyteller,
Yes.
a very good one. And I'm curious about whether or not in this reset, and there's a growing use of online platforms like that which we're using here, Zoom, for example, where like-minded people are coming together and having virtual cocktail parties and all manner of social interactions vis-a-vis the internet. Have you begun to think about perhaps storytellers gathering on these social media platforms and sharing and hopefully supporting each other while we ride this crisis out?
Well, they do that on Moth Radio. They're coming together and doing that. I don't know how I feel about it on media, because the immediacy of being with people when you're telling the stories is wonderful. But I just told a story on Linden Ponds TV as part of that. And it was much more rewarding than I thought it would be. So I think you're right.
Well, hopefully we'll see more of that. And as we do, I'm looking forward to inviting you to participate. We'll come up with a useful name. In the final minutes that we have together, I'd love to get what's your list of essential and non-essential um, uh, items that are going on in your life as you're hunkering down here in this crisis?
There's some I can't name because I'll hurt people's feelings. But things that have to do with making lists of kind of shilling for other folks to get people to do things, of organizing groups and so on and so forth. And I do it because it's something that I can do easily, but it isn't anything that I particularly enjoy. And when things don't work out, it's one person rowing the boat, if you understand what I mean.
I do. I know that you don't speak formally for Linden Ponds, but for family members and friends who are unable to uh, come on to the property to visit their loved ones and friends, what words of comfort and assurance can you give them? What would you like them to know?
When I do the walks around the buildings and so on, is everybody worried? Absolutely, scared to death. But I see people walking along and they're humming, or sometimes I'll hear people walking in front of me and they're singing. There was a couple in front of me the other day and they were singing together. And so I don't think it is capricious or that they are not feeling what the country is feeling, but it's a safe place. It's a place where we feel very safe. And I have to say, and I'm not paid by Linden Ponds, that they have done everything but stand on their head to help us as far as sanitizing the place, as far as being on call, as far as we don't go to dinner anymore. Our dinner comes to our place. That keeps us from gathering. Can you imagine putting together dinners for 1,500 people? That's just amazing. And it's not that the people in charge are sitting up in ivory towers. They're out delivering dinners and picking up packages. We can't have packages delivered anymore. They have to be brought in by employees and so on. So everybody is working extremely hard to keep us safe.
Pat, thank you so much for taking time with me and having this great conversation. I miss you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. As they say, once this crisis is behind us, we're going to sit down and, as they say, have something a little bit more adult beverage to celebrate our friendship.
Sounds good.
All right?
Thank you, Joe.
Take care, my friend. Stay healthy. Love you very much.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.